we're not reading ordinance 1614, we're just gonna present it, is that right? Because it would actually be the first reading on it. Okay.
Well, technically.
We had the Austin P coach came today and talked to us at one.
Yeah.
Oh, he is a baby.
But he's just doing a presentation, we're not.
Oh, we bring his on.
On the, sign ordinance.
TSU up there.
Yeah, we're not reading that one.
You need to tell Margot, because she's the one doing the program.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I'll tell her.
Hey, you know, I forgive them, but
Yeah, I know. I know. I understand.
I see this.
Other than to get
All right. We are ready if you are, everybody.
Yes, sir.
This regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for July 19th, 2016 will come to order. I'll ask the audience to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to ask you to remain standing, and Alderman Hubbard is going to offer a prayer for our nation and for those who have been lost in recent days throughout the country as we try to, as a country and as individuals, deal with these issues. James?
Put every head bowed, and as we think about we the people, let us go to God in prayer. Oh, gracious God, the one who has emanated over this country for over 200 years, we thank you, Lord. We thank you, Lord, that we are a country that can say, in God we trust. Even though we have disagreements, even though we have hideous events that happen, Lord, but we know that we're a country of healing, a country that knows how to come together. We pray, Lord, for our fellow soldiers, Lord, that died on the battlefield, our police officers. We also pray, Lord, for the families, Lord, who are going through grief. We pray, Lord, that peace will come. Peace will come, reconciliation will come. Calm, Lord, calm our tempers and everybody come together, Lord, and work as America wants us to work. We thank you again. We still say, God bless America. We pray, Lord, for the peace that we serve in this particular community. Again, Lord, we ask you for your prayers, and we ask you for a calming of minds and a calming of spirits. We give us all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Be seated.
Yes, I need to add something to the agenda.
All right. Mr. Sneed, what would you like to add to the agenda?
I'd like to add an item to the agenda, retain Navex Global to set up and provide an anonymous ethics, fraud, and personnel violation hotline and assign 2 individuals to receive complaints.
All right, you want that, the purpose of this is to add it to the agenda. All right, we'll make that, if it's approved, number 3.22. All right, and at the same time, it's been called to my attention that we have an item, and maybe you would be willing to add this to your motion, Clay. United Way had turned in a request for a parade permit for August the 18th. It was an oversight on their getting it in or whatever. Nevertheless, we got it. And would you be willing to add that to your?
That'd be a separate request. I might do it one at a time.
Okay. All right. Add to the agenda what Mr. Sneed has asked for. If you would favor that, that's the item on ethics. It would become item 3.22. Vote aye if there's a second to it. We have a second to his motion to add it to the agenda.
Sir.
All right, he has a second. Any discussion? If you would favor adding it to the agenda, vote aye. If you oppose, vote no.
Snyder. Aye. Purnell.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
No.
6-1.
All right, and the other item is the Amazing Race hosted by United Way, which would be on August the 18th.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Or if you make a motion to add that to the agenda.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion on adding that item to the agenda? Please call the roll.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Purnell. Trotter.
Aye.
Snyder. Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
That's 7-0.
All right, I'm going to list it right now as item 3.2023, but I'll move it up when we take the other parade requests. We'll take it at the same time. All right, it's our pleasure this evening to welcome another member to the Springfield Police Department, Chief Thompson.
Stand right over here, please.
You'll introduce your new officer.
Absolutely. This is Andrew Johnson. Andrew comes to us with a really exceptional background. Comes to us from Texas. He's got a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He played football in college. He was at the Texas Tech and at Sam Houston. He also did his time in the U.S. Army. Comes to us as a veteran. He's just recently finished the police academy and currently in our field training program, but I wanted to have the opportunity to introduce him to you. We'll do the official swearing in at a later time. I know that Lisa's not here tonight. She normally does that. But I wanted to get the opportunity to introduce him to you because you will see him out here making Springfield a better and safer place to live.
We welcome you to the force, and I want you to shake hands with all the members of the board, so we're going to come down. Or you just come around and walk. Come to us.
Well, I'm not a member, but I'm taking it.
Mayor, I would like to comment too that Sam Houston State University is one of the best criminal justice schools in the country. One of the top two in the country, as a matter of fact.
We welcome you. Let's give him a hand. Okay. Item 1.3 is the approval of the minutes for the special meetings the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on June 10th, June 23rd, and June 27th, and the regular meeting on June the 21st. That was a busy month. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any discussion? If you would favor the approval of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. We move now to the section on public hearings. The first of these deals with Ordinance 16-11, which would establish fees for the rental of the football field at Martin Luther King Jr. Park. If anyone in the audience wishes to make a statement with regard to this proposed ordinance, will you please come to the podium to my left, to your right, and you are free to make that statement. Hearing none, we've moved to the second item scheduled for public hearing. That deals with Ordinance 16-12 and would amend our conditions of service manual by amending the section pertaining to the maintenance of fire hydrants. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with regard to this matter? Hearing none, we move to the third portion of the public hearing. This covers Ordinance 16-13. It would rezone approximately a half-acre lot of the Sean Lehman Grimes property fronting South Main Street and adjacent to a parcel owned by Sean Lehman Grimes on US 431. We changed this category from R40 residential to CS commercial services. Does anyone wish to speak to this matter? Hearing none, we conclude the public hearings. We move now to the legislative portion of the agenda. Item 2.1 is the second reading on ordinance 16-11 and would establish the fees for the rental of the football field at Martin Luther King Park. That's what the public hearing was just set for that we just covered. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on this matter? Please call the roll.
Head,
Yes.
Cornell,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Snyder, Gregg, Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
2.2 is a second reading on, and this covers ordinance 16-12, which the public hearing also was held. This amends the section pertaining to the maintenance of fire hydrants. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion there? Paul?
Mayor, there was this modification is being made to accommodate Project Ally that we talked about in the Coopertown interchange on 24. If you look under the policy that says fire hydrants outside corporate limits, there was just one small phrase that was added under conditions of service, the first paragraph, and it reads, and this is the new wording, except as provided in the next paragraph hereof, all fire hydrants outside the corporate limits of the city and within the service area of the city's water system shall be maintained water department. Fire hydrants installed outside the corporate limits shall be at locations established by the Director of Water, Wastewater Utilities and as funded by developers or as may be established by a system-wide capital improvement program by the city or county. And that is just a one small phrase. And so if you would amend this on second reading to incorporate that phrase,
You want
that
the
would be my
amendment
recommendation.
now, please? Would anyone offer that request? Sir. All right, we'll take the amendment first. If you would favor that amendment, will you vote aye when your name is called? If you are opposed, vote no.
Sneed.
Aye.
Cornell,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Gregg, Head,
Yes.
Snyder, Trotter.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. We're ready now for the issue itself. Any discussion on that matter? Hearing none, I'll call for the question.
Trotter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Snyder, Sneed,
No.
Gregg, Cornell.
Aye.
Pass 6-1.
2.3 is ordinance 16-13, it's the rezoning matter that was before us in the public hearing. Is there someone who would care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion now? Please call the roll.
Cornell,
Aye.
Snyder, Hubbard,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Gregg, Head,
Yes.
pass 7-0.
2.4 is ordinance 16-14. This ordinance is on first reading and would amend our zoning ordinance regulating building exterior design standards within the corporate limits of Springfield to provide increased design regulations and to facilitate the creation of an attractive and harmonious community to protect property values and to further economic development. Does someone care to make the motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Paul.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. If you read the packet, the Planning Commission, we had a good discussion at the Planning Commission on this proposed ordinance. They requested more time to look at it before making a recommendation. Very interested about where to establish the boundary. And so I respectfully request that the board not take any action tonight on this ordinance, but I have asked Grant to make a presentation that to you and to the Planning Commission that'll give you a better feel for what we're trying to accomplish with the proposed ordinance. So if you would allow that, Grant's ready to make that presentation.
Our Planning and Zoning Director, Grant, you come to the podium. And I guess we get to
Okay, had a little bit of time to get that loaded up there. This is our proposal for the Historic Downtown Redevelopment Overlay District. That's Ordinance 16-14. This has been the Planning Commission, as Mr. Nutting said, and they had some concerns about the boundaries and looking at Memorial being included as part of this overlay district. And overlay districts in general, they used to apply a standard for a certain area of a city for what the buildings development should look like, and the standard can be any number of things, exterior materials, colors, different setbacks, and even different minor details of buildings. The underlying zoning and requirements would still remain. A lot of the area that's proposed to be part of this overlay district is zone CC, and that's our commercial core district. And most of that is where the buildings are closer to the road and there's less setback. They're typically located near the sidewalk. More typical downtown uses, multi-story, and then some residential is allowed in the CC. CS is where the buildings are farther from the road and the uses are more suitable near residential, and some residential is also allowed in the CS. CG is commercial general. That is our district where the buildings are farther from the road, and a wide variety of uses, including things like construction companies, auto repair, and limited warehousing. That's usually less suited near residential property. The purpose of the purpose section of the ordinance is essentially a defining statement to validate the ordinance and state the necessity for that, and states the need for the appropriate exterior materials to be used on structures, and all the different exterior materials and colors should be compatible with the downtown area, and that's kind of what we're trying to do. It's not necessarily stating that this portion of Memorial that's included in this, or Highway 49 and Fifth Avenue is historic. It's just tying it all into the overlay district to ensure that it's all in the same, has the same standard, and that's kind of what we're trying to do is set a minimum standard for development, that stating that there's only, that there is this is the basis of what we want to see, and there's things that we don't want to see. And really the intent is to maintain or increase property values, and that's, we're trying to ensure quality development and redevelopment, and even the repainting of structures, because we see a lot of that as a big issue. We are trying to, tries to encourage retail, restaurants, offices, family-friendly attractions, and multi-story mixed-use development, up to what our fire department and ordinances allow. We can only go up to 70 feet because we don't have a helicopter or anything. So, but that's really what we're trying to make sure that we have. We can encourage this type of development with ordinances and development incentives, and we're trying to do that as well. The defined area is essentially a box. It's all of downtown. It's properties within area of Memorial Boulevard, Central Avenue, Richard Street, 7th Avenue to 5th Avenue, and then 5th Avenue up to Connell Street, and then north to 3rd Avenue, and then 3rd Avenue over east to Memorial, and then back down to Central. So everything in that area is part of the overlay district, and then all properties along those streets. The property along the high traffic corridors that need redevelopment and are major routes to downtown are also part of this overlay district proposal. And that includes the section of Memorial Boulevard from the intersection of Central Avenue to Batts Boulevard, and then also 5th Avenue east and west of the city limits, which are two of our major corridors in and out of downtown and into the city. The applicability, Springfield Planning Commission currently approves site plans after city departments review where structures are in excess of 50,000 square feet. So everything that's over 50,000 goes to the Planning Commission. And then if it's under 50,000, all the city departments currently review and approve site plans when the structure is less than 50,000 square feet. This has been put in place in the past to ensure, quicker approvals and create less burden on the Planning Commission. We try not to have 15, 20 things on the Planning Commission every month on the really busy months, but we want to try to make sure that it's quicker too for applicants to try to get everything approved in a more timely fashion. As part of this proposal, the Planning Commission and Community Development staff would review overlay district exterior and painting proposals in the same manner. If it's anything over 50,000, it goes to the Planning Commission. Anything under would be reviewed in the same way it currently is. Exterior material and color renderings have to be approved for new construction, exterior remodeling, 50% or more total exterior walls. And I did change that a little bit from when it went to the Planning Commission because they were concerned maybe it was a little bit too restrictive, and want to make sure that it has to be a major remodel or a major structure addition, and that's including adding 50% or more floor square footage and then repainting. Which would only require the color exterior elevations to be submitted and approved. The type of structures the HDRO addresses would be commercial and mixed use, which we currently do have some design standards for, but not color. We don't review any color right now. Industrial properties, multifamily residential, and townhomes. This definitely not include single-family residential houses, and that's a big deal. We don't want to be that restrictive on people that just individual homeowners, and we just want to make sure some of our properties owned by by businesses and apartment residential companies that have these apartments, they fall under these regulations. Exterior colors of buildings and commercial and industrial storage buildings, retaining walls and roofs within the HDRO must meet color requirements. And then I spoke with Alderman Gregg. He was concerned about roofing replacements, and we would not review roofing replacements as part of this. I added that language after speaking with Mr. Gregg. And the exterior building materials and requirements, the allowed wall materials that be allowed in all cases would be brick, stone, fade-resistant quick brick. It's what Speedway's currently used here most recently. Fade-resistant artificial stone. We'll make sure if they use these type of kind of faux materials that they're a fade-resistant quality, and architectural panels. The limited wall materials, which would be less than 25% of the side or rear walls, side and or rear walls, would be concrete or split face block, stucco, and then EFIS, which that limits that. A lot of times the EFIS over time, from what I've read, does kind of begin to look bad. So I want to try to limit the usage of those things. And then a lot of the Springfield businesses have used high quality exterior materials here recently and in the past. Speedway, El Mogajete, Tangles on the Memorial, that building looks great. Farmers Bank, both branches, they do a good job. Even Waffle House, they've used materials that would meet this ordinance. Other banks like F&M, Community Bank, Applebee's. This is something that a lot of businesses currently already do and work to improve their property values and the property values of everyone nearby. So use of brick on restaurants and mixed use residential and retail. This is kind of a just a rendering of kind of what we would hope to see, and this is more downtown type development we would like to encourage, and we can try to work on some additional development incentives to try to get some higher quality types of development in, particularly with these design standards in place. And brick is also used in other cities by businesses many would like to see in Springfield: Publix, Chick-fil-A, Old Navy, places like Cheddar's, other types of restaurants. It's very commonplace to see that in other cities. So we're not trying to inhibit this type of development. We're really trying to encourage it. And this is the use of architectural panels, which is allowed. Targets, Whole Foods, even Tracy Langston Ford used architectural panels as part of their exterior. So, these are high quality, very nice looking exterior materials. Prohibited wall materials: vinyl, aluminum, unsurfaced and unpainted concrete blocks, plywood, wood shakes, asphalt shingles, siding made of cement, plastic, or fiberglass. These are things that we want to try to discourage those type of things, because they tend to, if they don't look bad from the start, they look bad over time. And but I did at the planning, after speaking with the Planning Commission and some of the comments I got from them, I did put in a provision that alternate proposals for exteriors may be considered by the Springfield Planning Commission, such as a standard corporate design or something that would meet that. It may not be necessarily part of this ordinance, but we could look at it. The Planning Commission could look at it on an individual basis, a case-by-case basis. So if it's something that is that doesn't exactly meet this ordinance, they would be able to look at that. And that was, we want to try to make sure that we are flexible and have there's different opportunities for other types of businesses. This is some examples of use of split-face concrete block, vinyl, and metal on exteriors. They typically just do not look good, and there's a lot of different examples you could use that you see around that they're typically not quality types of development, and you don't want to see that next to a property or a property owner who spent a lot of money on trying to keep their property nice. Also, the other portion of this ordinance, and this is the other main portion of the ordinance, there's two parts of it, is exterior materials and colors. This requirement for colors, we reviewed this. We want to look at see if they have natural brick or stone colors on those types of exteriors. Anything really recognized by National Trust for Historic Preservation. Any corporate designs, corporate colors and designs, we want to try to look at most of those would fit, but it really specifically does not allow intense, brighter fluorescent colors. This is a major issue that we want to try to avoid, and the reason for it is we have, and not to pick on these businesses too much, but we have some issues around town with, and then in other places where really bright and out of character colors have been used, and these are the type of things that don't fit in, and they look out of place, and this is kind of what we're trying to avoid by enacting with this proposal. Other types of businesses and development that we could not say anything because we currently don't have any kind of color regulation in any ordinance, and any of this could be approved at any time because we don't have anything that would allow us to deny these things. Hawaiian barbecue may be fantastic. The building is not. We want to try to make sure that we don't have anything that looks like that it would detract from other people's property values. There's other parts of the ordinance, facades and setbacks. These parts of the ordinances, they're recommendations. they aren't really requirements. They're not anything that we're placing on these property owners. We're trying to encourage more of a downtown type of land use, and we're trying to help give them development incentives by giving them more property to work with and things of that nature with CC zoning and other anything like that they can try to assist in redevelopment. Also, the streetscape and parking, that's not a requirement. It's just stating that we want to have entrances, having sidewalk connections to the street. Parking should be the side or the rear of the structure where practical. Sometimes it's not, but it's more of just to encourage a more pedestrian-friendly structures close to the street type development. Also, there's a portion of the ordinance that's available incentives. These are available through the state and National Park Service. Buildings that are older than, built prior to 1936 are eligible for a tax credit if they're rehabbed. There's some restrictions on that, but that's through the state. Anything through the National Register of Historic Places has a larger tax credit, and then preservation grants are available for survey and planning of property acquisition and development. So that's something we want to try to put in there for business owners and property owners to look at and help them know where to go to find these type of credits and incentives. We have some areas of downtown that will need some redevelopment soon, and Second Amendment and 10th Avenue, and some of the areas there's Bats and South Main. There's several properties in this area that there's some older structures that will probably need to come down relatively soon. And there's some property on 12th Avenue near Cheatham Street, Richard Street, Childress, and then at the intersection of 5th and Memorial, the tire shop there. It's the old gas station. It's a great piece of property on on two high traffic roads that it's a great piece of redevelopable property. That's a word. I think one of the questions the Planning Commission had is why include Memorial to Bats Boulevard? And this is why we want to try to include that. We've got the Royal Inn on that stretch of road. There's also this house near the Mystic gas station. Little Caesars, they have recently had some issues, and the building may stay or go. We don't know, but just all these properties like that. Fortune Village, everybody, I think a lot of people love that restaurant, and hopefully they'll stick around. But the building's pretty old, and at some point it will probably have to go. So anytime, it's kind of what we want to make sure that whatever is put in these places will be good, high quality development. And there's some other properties along through that section of Bats to Central that are somewhat dilapidated and kind of disrepair. So we want to try to encourage better redevelopment when those properties have kind of achieved their end use. So also there's all the other parts of Memorial Boulevard that we're looking at as well that will need to be added. And the other thing is, the other corridor I added was 5th Avenue and Highway 49. And the reason for this is that these are our two high traffic corridors in and out of the city from the east and west. And we've got some really properties that don't really look very good when people drive into the city, and they're not attractive, and it's really kind of our two of our big gateways into the city, and we want to try to into downtown, and that's really what we're looking for by adding these corridors. This is a nice building that we could do a lot with. I think there's different things that that could be done with this building, and it's an older building. We could keep it. This is just used for an example of types of redevelopment that we're trying to achieve with this ordinance. This is at the corner of, well, this is on South Main. I'm trying to think of the yeah, 9th, yes. But this is kind of what we'd like to encourage, this type of development, and it goes from that to that. So that would be a nice addition in that stretch between the depot and downtown, if we could have some private investment that would help us get to that point. And we would want to try to encourage some development incentives to add some residential, some multi-story type development like this. This is an example of this area right here at the corner of 10th and South Main. This is something that eventually someday we could look at doing like a park or some sort of public square, plaza, or something of that nature right there to help kind of get people downtown and walking and excuse I'm not great with paint, but I tried my best. But it's just kind of an example of what we're trying to do, trying to achieve and encourage. This is 10th Avenue. This is some of the properties there. We try to encourage some development like this in that area. And this is a long memorial. And, if we have development standards, we could, hopefully get some more things like a Chick-fil-A. That would be great for us, and I think everybody'd love to see that. So, or most people. So, anything like that, we're trying to encourage this type of development, and by keeping other people's property values higher, I think that's what's going to help us get to this point, and hopefully that kind of gets a good explanation of where I stand on the ordinance, and hopefully I think the community development department, we're hoping to see some things like this. Thank you all.
Some questions for Mr. Green.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned at the planning meeting the other day that there was a lot of painting issues. The question was asked for specific examples. You mentioned that same statement today. Do you have any specific examples of who is complaining or where these painting issues are?
Well, I don't have any specific examples of the complaints. I've heard a lot of different people complaining about the different paints and paint uses. However, I think in the presentation I did actually point out some of the businesses that we saw that were kind of abusing the lack of a standard for colors, and we're trying to reduce those types of paint colors to keep that from happening.
Mr. Green, you also mentioned some of the development. You put some hypothetical photos of development along 10th Avenue. You do realize what we saw there was a 4 or 5 story apartment complex, and there's a railroad right behind that blows its horn almost from Memorial Boulevard to Main Street to Richard Street. Do you really expect people to invest 4-story residential apartment complexes next to a railroad?
Not particularly. I did
Mr. Grant?
I did consider that, Mr. Sneed, and it was really just for an example of a.
It's a sales pitch. There's another thing. Government that governs the best governs the least. I see this as a overreach of authority over a wide area, and you put the buzzword historical beside it. This is not the historic district, what you're talking about, but you're using that word to gain support for your ordinance. That's all, Mayor.
This as Paul pointed out, this has gone before planning and zoning. They haven't acted on it yet. There's no reason for us to act tonight. That's not the intention, but it was an intention for you to be able, for the board to have, it's very intentional that we want the board to be aware of the things that are in this, and so that we can combat some of the complaints that we hear about rundown areas, and particularly the area that I hear the most about is generally on both sides of the railroad in the vicinity of Maine, Cheatham, etc. And everybody doesn't see it alike, but I think very few people would argue that we don't need some upgrades in this area, because what you upgrade becomes contagious, others copy. That's a good thing. I would grant you that right there you would not probably want some apartments backing up to C6.
The general consensus of the board was to try to go along with some of the diagrams that you showed us, and to encourage our local developers to invest money as well as bring in outside. So that was a general consensus of the planning commission.
Any other questions of Grant while he's before? Thank you very much for that very thorough presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, we now have a
Good job.
a first reading on ordinance 16-15, which is the changes proposed for parking primarily. That being the first reading needs to be read by our city clerk. Steph.
Ordinance 1615, an ordinance amending the Springfield Municipal Code by amending Title 15, Motor Vehicles, Traffic and Parking, by amending Chapter 5, Parking, by rescinding Sections 15-504, entitled Where Prohibited, and 15-506, entitled 2-Hour Parking in their entirety, and substituting a new section, 15-504, and 15-506, to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Whereas it has become necessary to establish new 2-hour parking regulations on the streets adjacent to the square and the old downtown shopping district in order to help businesses attract customers to their establishments, and whereas improved signage and enforcement are needed to facilitate 2-hour parking regulations. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 1, the Springfield Municipal Code is hereby amended by amending Title 15, Motor Vehicles, Traffic and Parking, by amending Chapter 5, Parking, by rescinding Sections 15-504, entitled Where Prohibited, and 15-506, entitled 2-Hour Parking in their entirety, and substituting new Sections 15-504 and 15-506 to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Section 2, all ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Is there a motion that this be considered?
So moved. Second.
All right. Any discussion? Paul?
Thanks, Mayor. The original sections have only been modified slightly. There was a sentence added to the last section of 504, and it states that violators with 3 or more unpaid parking tickets shall have their vehicles immobilized by the police department until all of their parking tickets are paid. That's the one change to that section. 506 was the 2-hour parking designation, and we pretty much went with what was in the original ordinance, with the exception that we've added some streets and we went full length on the blocks. One of the areas that was not in the original ordinance, but the spaces are marked, and it's Locust Street between 5th Avenue West and 7th Avenue West. So that's in there. If there are any one of these streets that you do not want included, you can make that modification or add. Let me just read that. 2-hour parking. A 2-hour parking limit for all on-street parking spaces shall be in effect daily from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the following streets: Main Street from 4th Avenue to 9th Avenue, 5th Avenue West from Main Street to Locust Street, 7th Avenue East from Main Street to Willow Street, 8th Avenue East from Main Street to Willow Street, Locust Street from 5th Avenue West to 7th Avenue West, 6th Avenue West from Main Street to Locust Street, and on West Courthouse Square. It shall be unlawful for the owner or operator of any vehicle to park or allow his vehicle to be parked in such on-street parking space for any consecutive period of time more than 2 hours. Now, this is every day of the week, but it won't necessarily be enforced on weekends. It just depends upon what, what's going on. So we have the flexibility, and I think everybody knows we don't have the staffing to be able to enforce this constantly 7 days a week. But I want to make you aware of where the new boundaries are, and it'll be a full block inclusion rather than breaking up blocks.
Are there questions now or comments?
Question,
Mr. Head?
is there adequate handicap parking downtown? And if there's not, do we need to make some type of special provision for that?
Unless you do like straight in parking, the only place I know we have that is around the square. You know, you have one spot there that's straight in, so you can make the proper handicap. You understand what I mean, Bruce? It's supposed to be 16 feet for a handicap parking. So unloading type thing, like you put over beside your building in the parking area. So I don't know how you can put it up on public streets. But often we've got some around the courthouse.
Then do we need to consider some type of special provision for vehicles that are marked handicapped? Just a question.
Good question. We'll be able to answer it.
Other questions? Well, this will have to be acted upon 3 times before becoming in effect. If I'm hearing no more comment on it, we'll call for the question.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed. Cornell.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Snyder. Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you very much. 2.6 is ordinance 16-16. It's first reading and would amend the fiscal 2017 annual budget for the city by amending the general fund budget. Ms. Stephanie.
Ordinance 1616, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2017 annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending the general fund budget. Whereas it is necessary to amend the city of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2017 in order to meet the requirements of the city charter. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee, that the city of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2017 is hereby amended to make necessary changes to expenditures within the general fund as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Can I have a motion, please, for that?
So moved.
And a second? Second. Any discussion, Paul?
Thank you, Mayor. Of course, this is to accommodate the recent grant our department received for the emergency vehicle exhaust system at Station 1. So you've got offsetting revenue against the expenditure for the full expenditure of the equipment, in which we have to participate in the amount of $3,561.
Any comment or questions? Please call the roll.
Head.
Yes.
Cornell.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Snyder. Gregg. Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed. Pass 7-0.
And 2.7 is Resolution 16-16, which will authorize or reauthorize the purchase of natural gas from the Tennessee Energy Acquisition Corporation, approving the execution and delivery of a national natural gas supply agreement relative to said purchase, consenting to the assignment of certain obligations in connection with this. We need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Paul?
Mayor, could I have Greg Riddle introduce Mr. Mark McCutcheon from Tennessee Energy Acquisition Corporation?
very sharp. He could do a lot better job of explaining this than I can. So
Mark, would you
great
come to
to have Mark
the,
come.
we welcome you. Mark's, this is not his first rodeo. He's been around for a while. That's not saying you're old, Mark. I'm just
I
saying
am. I'm getting old.
experienced.
I just want to tell y'all, I told Gina when I first got here that I got here about 30 minutes ahead of time that I thought I should be here. And I was riding around downtown, and I was so impressed with the way it looks downtown here. I mean, it really looks good to me.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much.
What we've got in front of you is a resolution authorizing the city to enter into a supply contract that would start in 2026 for Springfield. What's behind this supply contract is Tennessee Energy Acquisition Corporation, which Springfield and Clarksville formed 20 years ago this year. We have done several of these type transactions. The last one we did was in 2006 that bought approximately 45% of what Springfield uses every day at a significant discount to market. And that's what this transaction is going to continue when the 2006 deal rolls off in 2026. These transactions can't be put together on a whim. I mean, they have to catch the market just right. And it's been 10 years since we've been able to attempt to do a transaction like this. The discount on this transaction is not near the discount that we were able to achieve on the 2006 deal. And reason being, the best way to get the best economics is when you have high gas prices and high interest rates. And we're in the bottom of both, and we've been in the bottom of both for years. And we figured out something that was a little bit different that'll allow us to capture about a minimum of 25 cents per decatherm of savings to the city of Springfield and to the other participants that are participating. So this resolution would allow the city of Springfield to enter and execute the contract. And the contract says your only obligation is to pay for the gas you receive. You're not responsible for any of the debt that TEAC incurs, and we do issue a lot of debt. You've never been responsible, and you never will be responsible for it. It's that the responsibility for the debt stops at TEAC. And like I said, the only thing that Springfield or any other city that we sell gas to, it's the only obligation they have is to pay for the gas they receive. Now, the other thing I want to point out, this is just strictly a supply contract. And we have a management contract also with Springfield. And the reason we have two separate kinds of contracts is in case you get aggravated the way I'm managing, making the gas show up for you, or you decide that you want to do it yourself in the future, or whatever, you can do that with a year's notice. Although this supply contract would follow you. You would need to fulfill your what you've committed to on the supply itself. But let me tell you, buying under market gas is not easy to do, and not very many people have been able to accomplish that. But I would throw it out for questions if anybody's got questions.
Are there any questions, Mr. McCutcheon? We thank you.
You're more than welcome.
I know we have benefited from this association that we've had, and celebrate 20 years of working together. So that's great.
Well, it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Springfield and Clarksville, because it took two municipalities to form it. And just to give you a report on today, we have 22 members in the state of Tennessee, and we sell gas to cities in Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Kentucky, and Florida. And in this transaction, if we're able to complete it, we'll also be serving some in Nebraska. So it's those outside participants actually benefit the members because they cover a lot of the overhead costs.
Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Paul?
Mayor, I'd just like to mention that Greg Riddle serves as a secretary for the Tennessee Energy Acquisition Corporation. So Greg serves has an important position on the board.
I've got enough hats to wear there. All right, you have a motion and a second that this be considered. Okay, James?
They have some of the best conferences, and they have the annual conference, some of the best conferences around. So thank you for that. I really enjoyed it.
All right, we have the motion and the second. Ask Stephanie to call the roll.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Snyder. Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg. Cornell.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, we move now to 2.8. This is a resolution number 16-18, which would authorize the appropriation of funds for the ensuing fiscal year for nonprofit, charitable, and nonprofit civic organizations in accordance with TCA Section 7-54-111. This would allocate $16,000, it passed, would allocate $16,000 to the Robertson County Chamber of Commerce, $14,000 to the Robertson County Historical Society, $14,000 to the Robertson County Family YMCA, $10,000 to the Robertson County Senior Center, and $1,500 to the Transit Alliance of Middle Tennessee. We need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Sneed.
Some of the groups that are listed here have been on this list, I think, for far too long. Some of the organizations that we continue to give tax dollars to are not the fledgling one-horse shows that they were in the past, but have grown exponentially in resources, staff, and some of the people, some of the employees in the organizations that we're considering giving tax dollars are approaching six figures on some of their incomes. Is there any chance that we may look at this instead of just by habit continuing to issue tax dollars to these organizations that are not what they started out to be when we first started giving money to them?
You have somebody specifically you want to point to with this. I don't, a couple of them are larger organizations than others, but I think you need to be frank with what you're saying, because as far as just doing it automatically, I don't think that's the case. We certainly have done some of these things for some time, but I don't think it's out of habit. I think it's because of the services that are provided by all of these groups. But be specific with your...
I move to amend the proposed ordinance 2.8 to strike the $16,000 for the Chamber of Commerce, the $14,000 for YMCA, leave the rest.
Okay. You want to remove the Chamber of Commerce and the YMCA, and that's your amendment?
Yes.
Is there a second to Mr. Sneed's amendment? Is there a second? Hearing none, we're back on the main motion. Is there any discussion on the main motion? Paul?
Mayor, I simply want to add that these are the line items that are approved in the budget. And for the YMCA, it's for a specific program. It's for the after-school program for Springfield Middle School students. As you know, we're putting some extra effort into trying to give some assistance to some of our students so they can perform better in school. And of course, the Chamber of Commerce is money from all the city funds, totaling $16,000 for the economic development work that the Chamber does for us.
Any other comments?
Yes, from my point of view and from my knowledge, we benefit greatly from these five entities that we give money to. So I see no red flags and no sense in striking anything from here.
All right, anything further? Call the roll, please.
Sneed.
No.
Cornell.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Snyder. Trotter.
Aye.
Pass 6-1.
All right, we move now to the administrative portion of our agenda. First is the monthly adjustment of retail electric rates. for the electric department due to a wholesale fuel cost adjustment by our friends at TVA. What you got for us, Mr. Gardner?
We've got a slight decrease of 0.18%.
Got time.
0.18.
0.18. I said slight.
That's pretty slight. Better than going up. All right, is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second?
Aye.
Any
Second.
discussion? Please call the roll.
Snyder? Aye. Carnell?
Aye.
Gregg? Sneed?
Aye.
Trotter?
Aye.
Head?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. Similar request is what constitutes 3.2. This is a monthly adjustment of gas rates. Mr. Riddle.
Purchase gas adjustment is down
23 point. Okay, that's with the dot after the 3. Is that it?
However,
Robert's a pretty good sport. on that.
it's going to move forward, I can promise.
Okay. So enjoy it while we can. Well, we're not using too much gas this
Right,
one.
right, but it's good, it's down 23.9%, and that's the purchase gas adjustment. The across the board on everybody's rate is about 16 to 17% increase. Pretty good, go back and look.
That's exactly right. Any comments before we vote? No, we'll vote. No motion, okay.
So moved.
Second. Let's take this while we can.
Let's vote quick.
Please call the roll.
Hubbard?
Aye.
Sneed?
Aye.
Carnell?
Aye.
Trotter?
Aye.
Snyder?
Aye.
Head?
Yes.
Gregg? Pass 7-0.
All right, unless there's an objection, I want you to follow me on this next item because we've got parade applications for a total of 5 organizations, and they constitute 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and the one we added at the end of the agenda for United Way, and that's 3.23. I would like, if there's no opposition, to have a motion to take care of all of those.
I move we accept all 5
That's
applications.
on the Brantford parade, they need to amend to show that it's going to start from Brantford Elementary School instead of the center, due to construction at the center.
Okay, that's really, is that a typo more or less?
Yes.
All right, we can correct that then. Okay, that will be as corrected. All right, we have a motion to take them together. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Please call the roll.
Head?
Yes.
Carnell?
Aye.
Trotter?
Aye.
Snyder?
Aye.
Gregg? Hubbard?
Aye.
Sneed?
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you very much. Now, 3.7 is to discuss and possibly take action to approve the purchase of an automatic refuse truck from Stringfellow Incorporated, the amount of $259,591.04. And this is under that National Joint Powers Alliance purchasing contract. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is this a replacement truck? Yes. Replaces the one about 6 years.
Any other questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Trotter?
Aye.
Hubbard?
Aye.
Head?
Yes.
Snyder?
Aye.
Sneed?
Aye.
Gregg? Carnell?
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. 3.8 is to ratify an emergency purchase of a new phone system for the electric department from Ideacom Networks of Nashville in the amount of $9,969 to replace the 10-year-old phone system that was destroyed by lightning last week. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
What are y'all doing right now, Robert? It's in, all right, you do have it functioning now, okay. All right, any comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Sneed?
Aye.
Carnell?
Aye.
Hubbard?
Aye.
Gregg? Head?
Yes.
Snyder?
Aye.
Trotter?
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, 3.9 is to discuss and possibly act to ratify an emergency 6-month rental for the electric department of a bucket truck from Global Rental Company Corporation in the amount of $21,300. This is for a truck that was involved in, to replace a truck involved in an accident. Is that right, Robert? Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Cornell.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed. Gregg.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Passed 7-0.
3.10 is to discuss and possibly act to approve an amendment to the original contract with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for the state industrial access road serving of Electrolux. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? Paul, a little explanation.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a real minor change, but with regard to this, they're also requesting that we make a right-of-way deposit of $98,750. I think we're going to try to make a case that that's not going to be necessary because most of the right-of-way is going to be donated by Electrolux around the Holly property that they now have, they rent from and they can get control of. So just be aware that we may be expected to put that deposit down. Of course, it'll be refundable because we're actually not going to purchase much right away at all. And the city will be relocating the utilities at its expense to help facilitate the project as well.
So when this is rerouted, is this going back to the original plan that goes back several years ago? The road, the existing industrial drive, then will make a 90-degree turn just past the animal control shelter and then go over toward the railroad and straightening up to be more or less parallel with the railroad before you approach the Delight products. Is that correct? Okay. So people can understand what this is. This has been brought up. This will be the third time. We've had it approved 2 different times previously, and each time Electrolux, for whatever reasons they had at the time, decided not to go forward with the project. Now they're coming back for the third time, so maybe this is charm. Do we have a motion in a second? All right. Any discussion on the matter?
This is 3 point.
This is 3.10.
Yes, I'm looking at the contract, and it specifies outlining before September the deadline for this, a list of roads. Is this the only one that we're going to be doing, or is there some that's already been done?
No work has been done on this road.
Okay.
Anything further? Please call the roll.
Snyder. Aye. Cornell.
Aye.
Gregg. Sneed. Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
All right, now we move to 3.11, and this is also to approve the TDOT local agency agreement for the use of the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program for the repaving of a portion of William Batson Parkway. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. This is the one I was asking about, Mr. Elton. It has in the ordinance about outlining certain roads that you're wanting to pave. Is this the only one in that block grant from the state on that
This is the only
Fixing
one.
America's Surface Transportation grant?
Right, we get approximately $190,000 to $200,000 a year, and we pick this road. Now, that won't pave it all, but we get that much a year, so we may accumulate a little bit more, then we may have to put some of our own street aid money in.
So that, all of the money from the grant's just for this one road, nothing else in the city?
Nothing else in the city on that particular.
Other questions? Paul?
I did want to say the intent is to pave the entire road because we just borrowed the other $176,000 on a note. And it's our money, so no strings attached. This will just be able to use some additional money to accomplish the full pavement of the parkway.
We're going to go, if this is approved, we're going to repave it then from 431 south to over to Black Patch.
This is federal funds, so you have to go through all this red tape to do this. And we get it every year, but that's what we have to do.
All right, are there other questions or comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Cornell.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Ted?
Yes.
Greg? Pass 7-0.
We move now to 3.12. This would award a bid to Brown Builders Incorporated in the amount of $165,188 for the repair of two bridges on Bill Jones Industrial Drive over the CSX Railroad and Experiment Station Road over Wartrace Creek. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion of that? Please call the roll.
Head?
Yes.
Cornell?
Aye.
Trotter?
Aye.
Snyder?
Aye.
Greg? Hubbard?
Aye.
Sneed?
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
3.13 is to discuss and possibly take actions to award another bid to Brown Builders Incorporated in the amount of $203,706 for the repairs on the Greenway Bridge over Sulphur Fork Creek near the old water plant. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Trotter?
Aye.
Hubbard?
Aye.
Head?
Yes.
Snyder?
Aye.
Sneed?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Cornell?
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, 3.14. Might I ask a question here? Why are these not under consent?
Well, that's really my fault, just in case you had any questions. They are large purchases. They are being purchased out of depreciation with a note. And I was telling Stephanie,
for
I probably,
clarity,
I should have put them under consent probably, but I was too busy with some other issues at the time and didn't
That's
get
all
it
right.
put that way.
Just asking. 3.14 is to discuss and possibly take action to approve the purchase of a 1-ton 2017 Dodge 3500 four-wheel drive utility truck in the amount of $71,053.60. And what department gets that?
These are all water wastewater.
All the water, okay.
These three.
These three, okay. All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Sneed?
Aye.
Cornell?
Aye.
Hubbard?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Head?
Yes.
Snyder?
Aye.
Trotter?
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, same thing on 3.15. This is, except it's a 1.5-ton Dodge 4500 series four-wheel drive crane utility truck in the amount of $85,982.60. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Cornell?
Aye.
Snyder?
Aye.
Hubbard?
Aye.
Trotter?
Aye.
Sneed?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Head?
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
All right, the third one is a 3/4-ton 2017 Dodge 2500 four-wheel drive crew cab in the amount of $33,352.32. This also from Dodge of Columbia. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Please call the roll.
Snyder?
Aye.
Cornell?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Sneed?
Aye.
Trotter?
Aye.
Head?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
3.17 would be taking action to award the bid for a prefabricated restroom concessions building at Martin Luther King Jr. Park in the amount of $77,829 to the Hunter Nepshield Company. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
It's
Yes.
needed.
Okay, Mr. Gregg.
We're talking about roughly a 312 square foot rectangle building. And this equates to about $280 to $300 a square foot, which I find pretty ridiculous.
All right, can we have an explanation about that?
I'd be glad to offer one. We had a certain budget to work with. And the reason we delayed this, because we were considering a block building instead of the prefabricated building, which we are told would involve some more design. And it's very difficult to get contractors in Nashville or anywhere to bid on a relatively small project. And in fact, it would probably far exceed what we're paying for prefabricated buildings. So this will serve our needs. It's adequate. It's a safety issue for the kids playing soccer. It's got 2 unisex bathrooms and a concession window. And, it's going to be hard to imagine that we're going to be able to get much cheaper than what we got with a prefabricated building.
All right, floor is open for comments,
Mayor.
questions. Yes, sir, Mr. Sneed.
We just heard from the planning director wanting to impose draconian restrictions and, in my opinion, on the general public who bought and paid for and pay taxes on their property. And we're sitting here considering, after spending millions of dollars on park, to buy a portable to set out there in the park that Mr. Hubbard's spoke to and proclaimed as the Cadillac of our parks. As Mr. Gregg said, the amount per square foot is ridiculous. And that's all I've got to say.
Are there other comments?
Well, this Cadillac of our parks is not so much a Cadillac of our parks, but it's a park that is well used. Yes, it was intended to be the Cadillac, but the need is there. And if we would just look at the need and the usage of this park, yes, we have to spend some money to get these things there. So yes, I support it 110%.
Other questions, comments?
This is the only bid we got, one bid.
Terry?
There's only one bid.
Two. $88,000 for ECT contract.
Now, here's the problem. When you get to something $50,000 or more, it's going to have to be designed. It was $25,000 or more. The state made it $50,000 or more. And this is going to cost over $50,000, which means, we're going to have the architect in here. We want to minimize the cost by going prefabricated. And if we have to do this again, so we're going to pay more architectural costs, which we were quoted at $15,000. We already spent $8,000 for this. And then we're being quoted well over $300 a square foot based on everything that they've seen because, everybody's busy in Nashville. They're not going to take the time out of their day to build a 320 square foot building for us. And like I said, this is just a restroom facility in a park. Park facilities are different than commercial investment areas.
That's fair.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sneed.
How many plastic porta-johns did we just rent for an event out at the Travis Price Park? Anyone answer that?
Terry?
49 regular, 2 handicap, 4 wash stations.
It's all there.
Other questions? All right, let's call roll.
I want to address that. I wanted to address that. He's talking about a once and a blue moon event for the 40. I'm talking about a continual use. You guys need to get out, and lady too, and see how these parks are well used. They are the drawing cards. These things are just overflowing with usage. So we gotta move.
Any further comments? Please call the roll.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
No.
Cornell,
Aye.
Charter,
Aye.
Snyder, Head,
No.
Gregg,
No.
that's 4-3.
4-3. 3.18 is to discuss and possibly take action to ratify the Project Ally project cost and matching grant reimbursement agreement and the memorandum of understanding between the cities of Springfield and Coopertown. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Second.
Paul? Enlighten us.
Okay, we have been asked to make some changes to this on the fly. As you know, they haven't made an announcement yet. They're making application for this project through the state. There was a small change after we voted the last time where the city of Springfield would be the applicant. Because it's in Coopertown, it has to be the city of Coopertown. Even though, because we have the water system, we're going to be fronting all the money, all the expenditures still have to be run through Coopertown so that we can get reimbursed. That's just the way it is. So that one sentence that I put in my memo The town of Coopertown shall be responsible for bidding the construction project, awarding the contract for construction, and working with the city's engineering firm. So it used to read the city, meaning the city of Springfield. So the mayor executed the new one, and so you are being asked to ratify that because we had to get the paperwork in, but you still need to see that and approve that. And then there was a memorandum of understanding, now that Coopertown had a bigger role in this, that also had to be signed. So Mayor Charles and Mayor Carneal have executed that, and that was not brought before you because we didn't have it at the time, but we had to submit it in a timely manner. So we're asking that you come back and ratify those agreements.
Is there a motion? Got it, and a second? All right, we're ready to do business. Questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Charter.
Aye.
Snyder. Gregg.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
I think it needs to be pointed out, with this project, which holds a lot of promise, some good jobs, which are always needed in our area. The reason we are involved in it, people might ask when it's 10 miles out or so outside of Springfield, it's obviously not in the city of Springfield, but we serve that area with water, also with gas. Both of those utilities are involved in supplying what needs to be supplied for that particular project. So that's what the skin we've got in the game. So that can be clear for everybody's understanding. All right. We move now to 319, which is to approve a contract with CROM Engineering and Construction Services for repair work and painting of the 5 million gallon Mount Denson water tank, and this contract is $88,420. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Any comments? Call the roll. Paul?
Mayor, we're going to do exactly what we did with the East Hillcrest tank. And of course, as you know, we're going to upgrade both the Mount Denson tank and the East Hillcrest tank to accommodate the Logan Todd Regional Water Commission water line. Yeah, I'm sorry, pump station.
All right. Questions or comments?
Charter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Snyder. Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
3.20 is to discuss and possibly act on change order 1 for the preferred sandblasting contract for painting and repair of the 17th Avenue elevated tank. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sneed?
Seems like this is deja vu on this contractor that works on our water tanks. They get the low bid, but then they find something to come back and want more money and beat out other people on the front end who had a higher bid that may have seen this. Why is this always coming up on every water tower we fix?
Paul?
Well, I can explain that, because you don't know the condition of the tank until you take the water out of the tank. And then you get a chance to get in there and see exactly how well constructed and what actually needs to be repaired. You don't know if something's a weakened structure until you get in there and actually tug and pull on it and see what has to be done. So we have already approved in the bid the $133,500. That was an additive in case anything had to be done on the inside of the tank. They also identified $10,000 worth of changes that you approved the last time. Now they're asking essentially for 2 more items, which total a little less than $10,000. One is to install a handrail system inside the tank at the top of the riser, and then replace the existing undersized manway with a larger OSHA-approved manway. So you're actually the change order is for $9,350. The others you've already either had in the bid as part of the bid package and approved it, and so there you have it.
Okay. Are there other questions? Please call the roll.
Sneed,
No.
Cornell,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Gregg, Head,
Yes.
Snyder, Charter.
Aye.
That's 6-1.
Okay. Can we have the monthly report on our sewer system? Roger. Well, Mr. Beers, we're glad to have you. I didn't want to think that we were going to pass over you, but if you just as soon, I think we've had a pretty steady inflow of information, and we'll just pick back up next month, okay? I think we've had quite a bit of evidence. Every time I go down certain streets, bounce through it, I don't know how many more. All right. We have now item, let's go to the consent docket, and then we'll go back up to 3.22. 4.1 is the consent docket, which is for approval to award the annual supply contracts for gas materials. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Call the roll, please.
Cornell,
Aye.
Snyder, Hubbard,
Aye.
Charter,
Aye.
Sneed.
He said aye.
Okay, sorry. Gregg, Head.
Yes.
That's 7-0.
All right, the ethics matter that Mr. Sneed proposed to add to the agenda tonight comes by, I guess, from a discussion, maybe not last month, but back a month or so ago, in which you suggested a company that you happen to know about that did this type of work for your employer, CSS.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, I move to approve 3.22.
To hire this company to do it?
Yes.
Are there other companies out there that do this type of work? I mean, I thought we were just bringing back the matter so we could take bids, et cetera, on it.
I've made the motion earlier today and stated exactly what it was. I can reread it, what was on the agenda for us to approve.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that you came prepared with one company that you know about. I think other data had already, wasn't there some information that had been compiled?
Yes,
here?
after Mr. Sneed made the suggestion, I think you all passed it a couple months ago about NAVEX, I did some research, and I was told that we would discuss it later, and so I didn't know you were going to do that tonight, but there were some other companies, and there's different ways to price it. Some had a flat fee, some had a fee and then a price per call. So there were some other companies, and I'll be happy to bring that back
I think
next
this
month.
is a project that needs to be looked at, but I don't think we need to take the liberty to go forward with one company here, and it's me, just like last month, the meeting with the merchants downtown, but we come in for that meeting and you've got like a PowerPoint presentation you're going to make before we ever get into this. So I think we presume we're going a little too far.
I've made a motion, Mr. Mayor, and I'm looking for a
We'll
second.
consider we'll take your motion.
We're discussing it before there's a second.
We've done that before. Is there a second on it now? Second. Okay, now, go ahead.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. The issue is that there are purchasing rules, and probably the way to proceed on this is to take requests for proposals from companies, have them in, see what they propose. It's probably something you don't want to take the low bid on necessarily, although if they provide good service and it is the most reasonable proposal, you can do that. But I think, state law, unless it's a sole source, you have to follow purchasing procedures to be able to do this.
Yes,
All
Mayor.
right, now we'll say it now. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Would this be considered, the reason I didn't consider taking bids because it's a professional service, would it not be?
Not under state law.
Well, the bid price is $4,500. Is that under the requirement for taking bids? Because it's $4,500 per year. That's like $1. That's $1.45 per employee per month.
Well, you don't have to take sealed bids, and it's technically not a professional service that I know of under state law. Professional services are attorneys, financial advisors, engineers, accountants, things like that are exempt from state law from competitive bid. You can hire somebody who's qualified. You don't really necessarily have to take requests for proposals as long as they are qualified and licensed to do the work. But this is something that falls in a different area. And you probably wouldn't want to take a bid on it. You probably would want to take a request for a proposal, even though it is a small amount of money.
All right, so your proposal, let's be sure we got it. What you're suggesting, Clay, read it again. So
Retain NAVEX Global to set up and provide an anonymous ethics, fraud, and personnel violation hotline and assign the 2 individuals to receive the complaints.
Mr. Mayor, could I make a motion to defer?
is there a second to his motion? To defer.
There is a timeline on this proposal. They've been holding on since
I want everything. My motion to defer is to bring in everything, have more time to really work this
So I've
out.
been talking to them since early in the like January, February. Nobody's mentioned the idea of taking bids, and they've been waiting on their price increases and propose this with a 3-year agreement.
I think they gave me a different price. And I did talk to NAVEX first, and then, like I said, I did talk to another company, and I have information upstairs. But I haven't seen that, but we need to get it in writing, definitely.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor that we employ this company with the price that's indicated here. And yet we're told there are others that out there that do the same thing that we might ought to ask for other people's funds.
The
Our
attorney,
purchasing policy
Wait a minute, let me
requires-
go to Ms. Barty here.
I'm concerned, I don't recall in my perusal of the budget that there is a line item for this in our budget. And if that's the case, then my understanding is we would have to go back and amend the budget to add this.
It's an
That could be done, but it isn't in the budget, as I understand. Paul?
Well, our purchasing regulations require, if we can, and if there are available, to get 3 written quotes, I believe, in this area. I think we just moved it about $4,000, that you have to get 5,000 to get written quotes, and then you can get oral quotes for anything less than that. So we generally try to get 3, if it's possible.
So you're arguing a case that doesn't need to be argued. It's under 5,000.
You need 3 oral quotes according to our policy.
All right, that's the information.
Okay.
Is there anything further? Your motion to defer did not get a second. We're ready to, is there anything further that needs to be said? We're voting on the proposal of Mr. Sneed.
Yeah.
Did you get a second? Bobby?
I'm not objecting to the idea that Mr. Steve's coming up with, but I would think that Mr. NAVEX or whoever will need to come make a proposal or talk to us or make a presentation before
I'm
us or
like
something.
you, I'm in favor of the
They're not
idea.
going to come up here for $4,500. I mean, we got architects, we just spent $77,000 on a crap house that was set out there in the park, and nobody's here
Let's
to.
clean the
Wait, wait,
language up a little bit, Mr. Sneed.
If they don't
I
think
did that
that
on purpose.
we're worth
I know
coming
you did.
before us to
I'm gonna
make
cite
a
you for it.
presentation,
Beg pardon, Bobby.
I mean, if they don't think that, they're worth, it's not worth coming before us to make a presentation, what's the point in hiring? I mean, it's that.
I must do this, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Mr. You can have your
We
say.
have to watch our vernacular up here. We are still professionals, even though you may not feel
Now,
like
I've
it.
taken care of that.
Thank you.
All right, anything further before we vote?
Does this violate our purchasing?
He just said
Guidelines.
we're supposed to get oral quotes. Okay, that's it. So therefore, because of that, technically it does.
How much, David? I'm not sure. I thought,
Is it written or is it oral?
I think between 1,000 and 5,000 is written posted. No, it's over 5.
yeah. Well, there's one point where you don't have to get written. I think this is under, you don't have to get written anymore.
Ready to vote.
All right, let's call, the question's been called for. If you favor this motion to employ this company, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote no.
Snyder?
No.
Cornell?
No.
Gregg?
Aye.
Sneed?
Aye.
Trotter?
No.
Head?
No.
Hubbard?
No.
Fails 4-3.
Fails 4-3. All right, that completes the agenda, except for the city manager's report.
All right, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to inform everybody that this morning, Springfield Police and Robertson County Sheriff's deputies seized 84 pounds of marijuana valued at over $100,000 from a residence on John L. Patterson Street. I believe there were some weapons seized. So good work. Once again, the cooperative effort with the agencies is working out as usual. I also like to report that all 4 age groups of the Springfield-Dixie Youth Baseball League advanced to the state tournament. Ages 5 and 6 won the state championship for the 2nd year in a row. Ages 7 to 8 finished as runner-ups in the state tournament and will participate in the Mechanical Pitch World Series. The ages 9 to 10 finished 3rd in the state tournament, and the ages 11 to 12 finished 7th out of 16 teams participating in the state tournament. So, you know, our program is thanks to the volunteers and the parents and everybody involved, our very capable Parks Department. I think we're getting some good youth sports programs together. Also, the repair of the log cabin at Travis Price Park is complete. Tomorrow, the demolition of the Bransford Gym will begin at approximately 9 a.m. Now, the irony and the beauty of this whole thing is that this will be the 250th unsafe structure removed under the slum clearance since we started exercising this law in 2010. So, pretty remarkable.
That's quite an accomplishment.
And then, as a result of the recent flooding last week, the restroom storage facility at American Legion Field has suffered considerable damage. We've met with the insurance company on that. Also, roads, shoulders, drainage ditches, and drainage structures have been damaged at various locations throughout the city. Considerable damage occurred on Hillside Drive, Lakewood Drive, Nicholas Drive, and Redbud Court. The contractor has begun installing the irrigation system for the soccer fields at MLK Junior Park, and the middle soccer field at Travis Price Park has been disced by Parks personnel, and the field is in the process of being laser graded by the contractor. New carpet has been installed at the clubhouse and the Legacy, and new drainage has been installed in the fairway bunkers at hole number 10. The Legacy also set a record for revenue during the fiscal year just ended. The city has initiated cloud-powered email archiving using Sonian. And also, lastly, I will be on vacation beginning Thursday, July 21st through Friday, August 5th. And Assistant City Manager Gina Holt will be in charge in my absence.
Thank you for that report. And Paul, we have talked about this before. We still need to get on the signs, the entrance signs in the Springfield, the welcome signs, where we acknowledge some of these teams that have done so very well to brought credit to our community, and we want to honor those people. Going back to the last year that Tony Phelps group and all went there, that needs to be. I've had a call or two about that, and I think it was well intentioned but we just didn't get around to doing it, so that needs to be done.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I would just like to encourage the aldermen to talk to their citizens, talk to the police chief, so we can make sure we have a good, open-minded city, okay? So we won't have any copycat situations. Chief is doing a good job in community policing.
There's nothing else, we stand adjourned.